So have you ever met somebody that you knew right away that was somebody that was quality, somebody you wanted to spend time with? Likewise, someone was, genuine. They're very caring, very concerned. They were willing to listen to what you had to say, and they were very good people. Have you ever met someone that was, somewhat disingenuous? And sometimes, if you've gone and looked at used cars, some of those people, and they're not all like this, but a lot of the used car sales has a very bad name because a lot of times the relationship that you have with them, all that they're trying to do is trying to enrich themselves, trying to get that money. And so it's a very shallow kind of relationship. So it kind of leads me to think, what kind of person could you describe with using the word love or caring? How would you explain or define that word love without using that word? Maybe someone that's genuine, someone that's caring. On the other side, is it somebody that gives you everything that you want? Someone that never tells you no? Someone who agrees with everything that you say? Someone that agrees with everything you do? Is this a parent's job? Is this a friend's job? If you had a friend like that, uh, if they're very agreeable, then, if it's just a copy of yourself, you really don't need them. It's not a parent's job to do that. And why would I say that? Sometimes uh, with me growing up with parents, I didn't understand kind of the responsibility they had. Their job and my job now is to make my sons or daughters a responsible adult. And how do they do that? How do they prepare someone for the real world? Right now, you kind of live in this little bubble, a shelter where you're given all the essentials. You've got a home, you've got a place that you have clothing and food and shelter and hopefully care and concern. In the real world outside that bubble, none of that stuff is there. Um, Nobody gives you anything in the real world. So a parent's job is to help prepare you to stand on your own, to go from being dependent on them to being independent. And I mean, do you want to be the type of person that's like this immature baby type in a full grown body, that's just not able to support him or herself and to support a family? Let's say you were raised in an environment where it was like yes to everything and cater to all of your needs, and you never were told no. What happens when you show up at school and it's difficult and you've got a teacher that's really challenging you and pushing back and asking you to do a lot of work and effort and put the time in, and you show up like with the attitude, well, wait a second, I'm here. Don't I get an A for effort? Well, actually, for doing nothing. Or if you show up to your first job and you say to your boss, hey, I'm here, where's my paycheck? Um, doesn't work like that. You have to put the work in first to get paid. And so, really, the key is to understanding, where parents are coming from. They're trying to tell you the right way of doing things. And a lot of times you have to say no, you know. And so when they guide or direct, your job should be to say, thank you for that direction. Thank you for that correction. I can see that you're doing these things out of concern for my benefit. And you can even say, help me to understand how you see things so I can see things more correctly. But in the future, as they are directing and guiding, and a lot of times saying no, um, ask for that guidance and be thankful for what you're given. There are parents out there that are very hands off and just go play your video games and let me detach myself from my responsibility. Let the TV or society raise you. That's not the way it's supposed to be done. So, for an example, my son just recently had a birthday last week, and he was very upset on his birthday. We were asking him, telling him that he was going to take the ACT, and he said, "Well, I have no intention of going to college," which, in my point of view, I think is a correct decision. If he decides to go to a school, it would be a trade school, learn to be an electrician, learn to be a plumber, learn to do a trade, be involved with construction. But the best decision for him to keep all doors open, if he wants to become an electrician and goes to that trade school, a lot of times they still require an ACT for entrance. So yeah, we told him, I'm sorry, you don't want to do that, but you're going to do that. Because we don't want to close any doors. So he wasn't real happy about it, but our decision was based on future benefit to him. So let's go back to defining love. How would you define that? And maybe someone that's got your back, someone that doesn't talk about you in a negative view if you're not there, someone that really genuinely cares about you, doesn't talk about things that they would be embarrassed to talk about if you were there. You know, talk is cheap. You know, you can say how much you care and care about somebody, but it's really about how you show it to them. Maybe someone who is willing to listen and tell you the truth, even when it hurts. You know, you need to stop this habit. It's not the best thing you should be doing with your time. You know, you can't play 6 hours video games a day. It's turning your brain to mush. There's better things for you to do with your time. And here's some suggestions. And I'm going to help you, if you can't do it on your own, to make those decisions because it's best for you in the long term. Another definition of love is someone that is willing to put aside their own self-interest and even suffer for your benefit. An example of this, years ago, I have a friend that was pouring some cement, and he had a garage in the backyard with a flat slab of concrete, of course, for the garage floor. But underneath that, he decided to make an access door, not really a door, but just a little access panel. And underneath that, he dug out all of the dirt, made it a very large room, probably like 20 by 20. It took him a ton of time to dig out this large room, and he planned on having it become a workout room. But it had just dirt walls and dirt floor, and so it wasn't ideal. He had spent all the time digging that out, forming up the walls and the floor, and had finished pouring the floor and the walls. In order to pour cement into a wall, you have to put forms. And I think the wall was, 8-10 inches thick. And in order to do that, he had to set up these forms, and he had to support those walls with beams going across, 2x4s and other poles going across to support that weight. And so he told me that he was in kind of tough shape and he needed help. His brother had loaned him the forms. The concrete was dry. He needed to take all these supports down and remove the forms so that he could get those forms back to his brother the next day. Well, I came over to help. We started about 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and it was very difficult work. Those support beams were in there very solid. It was hard to get them to move. You had to use hammers and to start that, to remove those support beams. And then you'd finally get one down, and there was a dozen others, and then you'd finally get those down. And then prying the form off from the concrete was very difficult work. And I found out later, I had spent hours. It was 6 o'clock, then 7 o'clock, then it was midnight. And my friend told me afterward he said, I'm going to find out what kind of friend I have because, most people would say, hey, I'm going to go home, get some sleep. Good luck. But yeah, I stayed around um, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning until the job was done. And that's what had to be done. But I mean, he was an amazing friend. Months later, we built this amazing metal gate to access the backyard. And he welded and helped make that gate. And it probably took us at least a month or more of all of the extra time we had. He was spent over there helping me build this gate. Um, so, how do you show someone that you care or feel that you care about them? It's not by the words, but most often it's by the things that you do. Even Jesus said, if you love me, keep my commandments. And he's saying, not just on Sundays, but every day, every moment, doing what he would in your shoes. So, bottom line, change how you view the word love. Notice when someone higher than you, like a parent, an older person, even a father-in-law, is trying to help correct you or help improve, give you advice. Even so, don't be offended. Take the advice and use it. A number of times my father-in-law he was an amazing person. He would tell me stories about having an old motorhome, and there was a really large hill out of Salt Lake going up Immigration Canyon, and it was miles long. He said this old motorhome would overheat. And he said instead of getting all stressed out, he would pull over, play a card game with his wife and some of the kids, let the motorhome cool off. By the time they were done playing a game, the engine cooled down enough and they could continue. So what was the point? You know, the point is, not to get upset about some things that happen. Just stop and think, collect your thoughts first before you do anything. Take the emotion out of situations. So the other thing to change about your view of love is it's not about what you say, it's about how you show them that you care by what you suffer for them. Thanks.